Hello and welcome back to Unmasked Universe, where we unmask the universe that lives inside of you. Welcome back if you're a returning subscriber. To all the new people watching this video, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. So I meant to do more videos. However, I did end up with the flu shortly after I had recorded two videos. I'll be putting one video out that I recorded last week shortly here. It's actually uploading as I record this video. Um, but now that I'm finally on the mend, it's time to get back into the flow of things. And so you may hear me clearing my throat. You may hear me, perhaps I have little coughs here and there. I'm still recovering. And I do have my wonderful tea in my Santa cup. So I'm pretty excited about that. As you can see, I've got a little bit of Christmas going on here. Christmas used to be one of my happiest moments. I used to really love Christmas. So that's another video. Get into that, why that may have changed and how I'm actually healing that. So in this video though, I want to discuss something else. So this is kind of the video that comes after the last video, which is about why it is that you keep attracting the same people into your life over and over, the same relationships over and over again, and how to fix that. But this video, I want to focus more on how it is that we call for love and that version of love that we have taught ourselves. Okay. So once you've gotten on the path to self love, and acceptance for self, this is when you can actually start to call in. And I would say, like, wait a little while until you've really done a lot of the healing work with your childhood and your family dynamics before you do this method. Simply because you'll just be repeating old patterns over and over and over and over again. So once you've really closed the door and the chapter on your past with your family, then you can start to call in real love, love that is authentic, love that is reciprocal, love that you actually deserve to have in your life. And one of the things that I want to touch base on, because this is a problem that does arise quite often when you've lived in family dynamics that may have caused you to feel less than worthy. When you do close the chapter to that, so you may have other things coming up to the surface, revealing old negative beliefs that aren't serving you anymore. And one of them is your worthiness to receive love, to receive attention, to receive compliments. Um, just even something as simple as somebody opening the door for you if you're a female, right? Or even if you're male. It doesn't really matter. Gender doesn't matter, but it's more so of like, what are your current expectations versus how you actually react when they come up? So, self-worth is built a lot on the principle of that love that we show ourselves. And when we've grown up in environments where we didn't feel or we got the idea that we were not worthy of receiving ourselves, then that's going to impact everything going forward in your next relationships. And so that would be the first thing that you want to do before you start calling in a romantic love for yourself. That is, your true love. Drink some tea. Good old chai tea. Not that I can taste it. My nose is so plugged that I can't even taste the tea. I can kind of get a smell, but I thought it would be better than it actually is. Anywho, well, at least it serves the purpose of soothing my throat right now, so that's a win-win in my books. The next thing that you're going to want to do is start thinking about, like, once you've started to analyze and remove old doubt, like self-doubt, um, any of the old beliefs about um, love for yourself and love, what that love looks like from somebody else. Because again, if all you know is a skewed version of what love is, but it's not the real deal, then it may actually be worth looking into relationships or people who have relationships that are built out of love. And another thing that you're going to want to do is um, make lists of your core values. What are your core values? Examine your core values. Examine what is most important to you. You know, what are your ethics? What are your beliefs? Because it doesn't mean that you have to have the exact same ones, but when your core values, especially, align with another person's, then you know that it's likely you're going to be respected as well. Okay. So that plays a big role in it. But also knowing what love should look like and how that is reciprocated in a healthy dynamic by examining other people who actually have that love, and examining yourself in relation to how you receive from another person. If you can't even receive a compliment from a complete stranger, then you know you're out of alignment with receiving this love that you truly want. And so then it comes down to working on those smaller aspects of just self and evaluating them and then supporting yourself in a nurturing way to grow and elevate or create a culture around supporting the opposite of the beliefs and doing the opposite even when it comes to your confidence. So if you are somebody who suffers from a lack of confidence and you can't receive a compliment, start acting like you can. That's the first step. Step into whatever energy or behavior it is that you wished you had. Model it for yourself because clearly a lot of us didn't have great models for these things, which is why we've attracted so many terrible relationships or people or dynamics or situations into our lives to begin with. And so you have to be the model for your inner child first. If that is what you want to bring into your life, then you need to model that for yourself. And the way to raise your confidence in this sense is to start acting like the part. Remember, energy goes where energy flows. And so, if there is something that you wish to call into your life, such as real, true, soulful love, then that's not going to work if you are insecure or not a confident person, don't believe in yourself. There's going to be a point where the energy dynamics change and you fall back into whatever victimization you fell into as or grew up in as a child or played out in other relationships. That same dynamic will continue. And so making sure that you're creating stability within yourself over the long term takes time and it takes constant effort. And that means checking your ego every time that you feel triggered about something. Instead of, you know, pouncing on yourself and degrading yourself or depreciating yourself or talking to yourself negatively, instead of doing those things that you were previously conditioned to do, to break that cycle, you must act the part. You must change your perspective. And that means taking it easy on yourself, being self compassionate with yourself, seeing that that is your ego trying to protect you, and then questioning what it is that you need to learn from that. Okay? So that's going to be your first steps in really cultivating a space within yourself that says, yes, I am confident, I am capable, I am loving, I am nurturing, or I am strong, or whatever it is that that is your essence. Because again, we're all unique and individual. But whatever your essence is comes from within. And so to cultivate the culture, you have to cultivate your own culture, your own frequency, your own energy. You have to support your inner child to believe that they're capable, to believe that they're worthy of being loved. And you have to act the part because, the mind and the body, like, they work in unison. The body just follows whatever the mind is telling it. And so if you are saying nice things to yourself, if you are supporting yourself, if you are taking time out to nurture yourself, to take time to rest, to do things that you love, to grow within yourself, to do the work for you, like to do your shadow work, whatever it is, if you're doing this for yourself, you're cultivating that trust between your inner child and yourself. And the more you do this, then the less likely you're going to revert back into old patterns and old ways of being. I mean, you may slip off from time to time, kind of revert backwards a little bit, but the more you act this part, the more energy you really truly put into playing that role while also taking care of your inner world, because otherwise it's just a mask, right? And there is a clear definition between the two. There are people who just wear a mask who couldn't be bothered to deal with their inner world. And so the mask is like, that's their whole identity, but it's really hiding something much more sinister behind it, or something, something potentially just, like life sucking, or or maybe it's just really deep insecurity. It could be anything. I'm speaking from my own life experiences with people, but not everybody's is as extreme. So I get that. But there's a difference between that, and then there's a difference between somebody who is actually working on themselves and creating shifts by working on their inner world and supporting their inner child, and then acting the role, because you're, by healing those wounds and closing those gaps, you're actually changing your energetic frequency, which no longer resembles the person who used to have to hide behind the mask. And that brings you into authenticity. And that authenticity itself, by closing those wounds in your childhood, and loving yourself and nurturing yourself and being there, showing up for yourself, by doing that, that already creates such a conscious shift. And on an energetic level, that already elevates you into different timelines where you just have to act the part in order to make it manifest into your life. And this is exactly the point, is that you want it to take little to no effort to manifest into your life once you've gotten to a certain point. And so let me know if you like my Santa cup. I love my Santa cup. I actually found it at a thrift store last year, and I was like over the moon about it because I've never seen a cup like that before. It's like my favorite cup ever. Anyhow, the next thing that you're going to put some effort into is to visualize what it is that you truly want in a relationship with another person. Because again, if all of your experience in life has been with somebody who has not shown you those things that you wanted, you may have idealized this relationship at some point to be all of that, but then you're just going to continuously fall into the same patterns, right? So if you don't actually know what that looks like for you, if you don't really even know what you want out of a relationship, then there's a slim chance that you're going to get the end result that you're desiring. And so take some time to visualize your perfect soulmate, not your karmic soulmate, your perfect soulmate. Write it down. Write down the qualities. Write down how you wish to be treated, the kinds of things that you would like to do, um, what what qualities about them you find attractive, what you enjoy the most about them, maybe features. I mean, you could get pretty specific, but sometimes the universe has different plans for you. um, but really take time to envision and to write it down as to what you like and what you don't like, and go back and re-edit it every time you have an experience that teaches you something about something you may have on that list that you actually may not enjoy. Because sometimes when we're manifesting these, the universe will send in somebody and who has some of these qualities that we think we really like, and then it turns out we don't. And we find out through a life lesson. And thank you, universe, for that, because the universe is guiding you to show you, like, to help shape that real, genuine connection that you're craving so much. The universe is sending in experiences to kind of reshape how you feel about that. Like, here's a little tester. Do you like that? No? Okay, let's try again. We're going to go back to the drawing board. We're going to erase that part and we're going to rewrite actually what we would prefer. And so this is a part of your manifestation process, is to envision what it is. Because if you don't, say like you write so many things in detail, but then you forget to write something like, oh, yeah, I got my dream guy except for, or girl, except for they are not emotionally available. Well, is that a quality that you don't mind them not having over the long run? Because remember, this is like the person you want to spend your life with. Is that a quality that you can live with? Maybe that's taking it extreme, but don't skip out on the details. Because if it doesn't make you happy, it's not going to make you happy in the future. If it doesn't make you happy to envision whatever it is that you're writing down, I can guarantee you it will not make you happy later on when that person shows up. And it won't make you happy being in a relationship with them over the long term either. You'll be miserable because there will be one or two or maybe several different aspects of them that you just find to be out of alignment with your life, or out of alignment with your core values, or out of alignment with your beliefs, or out, or how you deserve to be treated, or how you feel you should be treated, or how you should communicate, or it could be any number of things. But you need to be specific and tell the universe what you want, or you're just going to be sent in some vague experience that may tick some of the boxes that you have stored in your head, but because you were not being a co-creator in the situation, then you're not co-creating your path, your future. What you're asking for is a similar experience to come into your life that you've already had, to reteach you the lesson that you need to be an active member in your own co-creation. Let that sink in for a minute. You see, when we sit by the sidelines of our own lives and we are not actively participating in creating the future that we truly desire, then the only thing that we can receive are echoes of our past, emanations of experiences that we've already lived through and survived, yet can't escape. And so part of this is that you have to recognize that you are the creator of your own life, of your own reality. If something does not serve you, if something does not feel good, if something is not aligned with you, it's up to you to take a step aside and leave that behind. And then it's up to you to start actively creating the life that you want. And yes, it does come with needing to heal old patterns and belief systems, but the other half of the equation is that we have to take action or we're just going to get, again, echoes of the past because the universe is energetic and we're just going to receive reverberations of our old self until we step into our future self, until we actually draw the line and say, you know what, I'm tired of those lessons. I'm fed up with all this. I no longer am that person. I choose to be dot, dot, dot. So, other than that, the only other thing I would recommend is making sure that you understand the difference between expectations and boundaries, and that you have at least sat down with yourself and created healthy expectations of how to be treated in a relationship that is healthy. Okay. And again, if you don't know what that looks like, start doing some research online. There are some really amazing people who talk about this on YouTube. There's lots of information about healthy relationship dynamics in psychology resources online. You can look just about anywhere to figure out what that actually should look like. Do your research and then sit down with yourself and ask yourself these questions as to like how do I deserve to be treated? How would I love to be treated? How, and not just one-sided, because again, that's your ego stepping in. And when you're in relation with somebody else, the whole point is to have a reciprocal relationship that's balanced. And so you can't live in your ego. I mean, your ego may get tripped, but you can't live in your ego if you want a healthy relationship. And so, what you want may conflict with what somebody else wants. And so, then conflict resolution has to be learned as well in relation with other people. And so, if you can't resolve the conflicts within yourself, you'll have a difficult time resolving conflicts with others. So knowing that you may have this big list, but again, this is an ideal. This is what you want, but there may have to be some compromise because when you're coming from places of trauma and past experiences, even when you've closed off the wounds, even when you've closed the door to old cycles, you will still have stored trauma in the body and you can still have reactions. And over time, that will dissipate as you learn to communicate with your partner in a healthy way. But what's most important is that you understand that your list is your list. They're going to come to the table with a list as well, and their list may be different than yours. You may have a lot of similarities. You may agree on just about everything, but you may also have some things that are maybe a little unreasonable, and that could be due to past experiences and trauma. Like you could have your guard up around certain things and be like, nope, this has to be exactly like that. But it's like too stringent. Okay. So if it's too stringent, this is where you open up the channel of dialogue with your partner and you say, okay, well, how can we work with this? And as long as both parties are working in tandem with each other, not one is doing more than the other to fix or resolve any of the issues that come up around these things, then you know it's going to work. Okay, it's going to be healthy. And so sometimes we need to rein ourselves back, especially with regards to how big our walls can be or black and white thinking, right? It has to be this way, not the other way, or there's no middle ground, or, if you have those issues, then you need to also assess like where your boundaries, those really strong boundaries are still being triggered, why you feel that way. Okay. And so if they're like unmovable mountains, then maybe being in a relationship at this time isn't the healthiest position you can put yourself in. Because again, you're just going to fall into an echo of the past, a reverberation of your old self in that dynamic. And lastly, making a list of how you will enforce your boundaries. Because again, boundaries are not things that other people can enforce. Okay? A boundary is something that you and only you are willing to take charge of and do. So, what that means is that if I set an expectation to be treated with um, kindness, fairness, and respect, and you go out of your way to completely disrespect me and scream at me and treat me unfairly, then of course I have to, you know, tell you that I'm going to enforce a boundary. Like, this is how you set it up. So you have your expectations, you talk about it when you meet, and these are my expectations and how I expect to be treated in a relationship. What are yours? Okay, vice versa. But if you cross these expectations of mine, if you don't follow through with these expectations, and again, they should be reasonable expectations, not really boundaried expectations, but reasonable for a loving relationship. If you do not follow through with these, then here is what I am willing to do. This is the boundary, and I am prepared to take breaks if you yell at me. I am prepared to walk away from this relationship if you scream at me or intimidate me or treat me in an abusive way. This demonstrates your own self-worth to the other partner too. They know that you have boundaries. They know that you have clear expectations and you are willing to enforce the boundaries. But some people still feel the need to test those things. And so then it's up to you in that moment when your expectations have not been met to enforce the boundary. Nobody else can enforce that boundary. You can't put a boundary on somebody else and expect them to follow through with it. They can only meet your expectations. The boundary is simply for you and only you to follow through with and take action on. So, keeping this in mind when calling in your love, because this is all a part of knowing who you are. And if you don't know who you are, then you get lost in a relationship. Instead of it being mutually beneficial for both of you, what happens instead is that you get lost in the other person. And then because you're losing yourself and your identity, you tend to fall back into states of victimization. Or if you're not the victim, then you're the perpetrator. Okay. It can go either way. Yourself. When that true love does come in, and it will, so long as you do the work, the inner work, and know who you are and figure these things out, that love will come in. It's just a matter of time, right? When it does come in, you can go in confidently and check yourself as things come up. You know, don't project anything onto your partner, but instead say, you know what? I'm feeling quite triggered by that right now. I need to take a moment to assess why that is. And that is a healthy response. And that's your next step is to really assess within yourself why you feel triggered. It could be that, somebody overstepped and crossed your own expectations or didn't meet your expectations and crossed your boundary. It could be that. Or it could be a wound from your own past that was triggered by it. It could be either or. So that's why it's important not to project your pain or your past experiences onto other people, but instead take responsibility for your actions as a mature adult or even emotionally mature human being would do, is to take responsibility for your own thoughts, your own actions, your own words, your own behaviors, your your own projections, because sometimes they're coming from a skewed place. And so you may have something trigger you, but it doesn't mean it's because the other person was in the wrong. So you should not treat them that way. First, assess what's going on in your inner world, and then you can go and have a conversation once you calm down and figured out what it was. It's good to have a conversation about that. And any healthy person would respond in a positive way to that approach because that is opening up the channel for deepening your relationship. So, if this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe. I will leave it here for today. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.